Salam, peace be upon you. My name is Muhammad Laiq Siddiqui, the father of Holophase. Our story of change, part 15. What is interaction? Where we are. Let us take a slow breath and remember where we are. We have been building something careful. We started with a cup. The cup was whole. Then the cup was broken. Everyone saw it happen. But we refused to say, time passed, so it changed. That felt too easy, too magical, too hard for strangers to check. Instead, we built folders called state packages. Each folder holds a snapshot of something at one moment. What we looked at, how we looked, what we are allowed to claim, how uncertain we honestly are, and the trail so anyone can repeat our looking. Then we built receipts called update certificates. These receipts prove that one folder legally leads to another folder. They pass through 8 gates, like 8 checkpoints. If a receipt fails a gate, we do not accept it. We write a refusal certificate instead and put it in a special drawer called the negative archive, so we remember what did not work. Then we built an immune system. If we discover an old receipt was wrong, we revoke it. And we revoke everything that depended on it. We call this a revocation dossier. Then we built a graph. Dots are folders. Lines are receipts. The whole drawing is called graph G sub U. We said a universe is not a place, it is a connected record. Then we built order, not from clocks, from chains. We said S1 comes before S2 if you can walk from the first folder to the second folder by stepping along receipt lines. Then we built propagation limits. We said a change can only spread along paths that have legal receipts with open gates. No distance, no speed, only connectivity and permission. Then we built transformers. We said a law is not an equation on paper. A law is a registered machine that turns one folder into another. Every transformer lives in a public registry with its full declaration. Then we built composition. We said we can put transformers together in a chain, but only if the types match and all gates still pass. Then we built conservation. We said a quantity is conserved under a family of transformers if every valid receipt in that family shows it stays the same within uncertainty. Now we have many folders, many receipts, many transformers, many families, many patterns of what changes and what stays the same. And now we face a new question, a question children ask all the time. Did that happen because of this? Or more simply, what is interaction? The opening scene. 2 toy cars. Imagine 2 toy cars sitting on the floor. Car A is red. Car B is blue. They are far apart. Now imagine you push the red car. The red car rolls forward. The blue car does not move. Did they interact? No. Only one car changed. Now imagine you push the red car again. This time, it rolls forward and bumps into the blue car. Now both cars move. Did they interact? It feels like yes. But in our notebook world, we do not use the word bump as magic. We ask something more careful. Can we separate the update into 2 independent updates? If yes, then no interaction. If no, then interaction is certified. That is the whole idea. The big idea. Here is what we discover. Interaction is not a push. It is not a force. It is not invisible influence. Interaction is when a certified update cannot be cleanly separated into independent parts. Spoken slowly. Interaction is failure of separability, not push, not force. Certified non-factorization. What does factorize mean? That word sounds big, but it is simple. Imagine you have a big change. Folder S becomes folder S prime. Inside folder S, we can declare two parts. Part A, Part B. Maybe A is the red car. Maybe B is the blue car. Now we ask, can we write the update as one certificate for A and one certificate for B such that they can happen independently? Their transformers commute under composition rules. When we combine them, we get the same final folder S prime within uncertainty. No guard violations occur when we put them together? If yes, no interaction. If no, interaction is certified. That is it. The two light switches example. Imagine two light switches in a room. Switch A controls the ceiling light. Switch B controls the desk lamp. You flip switch A. Ceiling light turns on. Desk lamp stays off. You flip switch B. Desk lamp turns on. Ceiling light stays as it was. The switches are independent. Their updates can be factorized. We can write update A, toggle ceiling light. Update B, toggle desk lamp. They do not interfere. No interaction. Now imagine a strange wiring. You flip switch A. Both lights turn on. You flip switch B. Both lights turn off. Now you cannot separate them. You cannot write a certificate for A alone that does not affect B. You cannot write a certificate for B alone that does not affect A. Factorization fails. That is interaction. Back to the toy cars. Let us return to the cars. When the red car rolls freely, we can write update A, red car position changes. Update B, blue car unchanged. That factorizes cleanly, no interaction. But when red car hits blue car, something different happens. The movement of red car changes blue car. And the movement of blue car depends on red car's movement. We cannot write independent update for A, independent update for B, that produce the same final result without referencing each other. Factorization fails. Interaction certified. What is a subsystem? Now we must be careful. We cannot just say this part is A, that part is B. Subsystems must be declared, typed, recorded. You cannot secretly invent a particle and say it interacted. Subsystem typing must be explicit. Maybe we partition by invariant basis pieces, defect ledger segments, domain regions, boundary types. Whatever the declared interface is, it must be written down. No implicit particles, no hidden assumptions. The sharing a blanket example. Imagine two children under one blanket. If one child moves, the blanket shifts for both. You cannot separate the update. The blanket is shared. But if each child has their own blanket, one moving does not affect the other. The blanket is like shared invariance, shared guard constraints, shared boundaries, shared domain. Interaction means something is shared in the certified update that prevents clean separation. False interaction. Now something very important. Sometimes interaction appears real, but is false. We must diagnose. False interaction can happen because of aliasing failure. You think A and B are separate, but actually you cannot tell them apart. Your measurement cannot distinguish them. Gate 5 catches this. If you cannot identify the subsystems cleanly, you cannot claim interaction. Scale mixing without interface. You try to split A and B, but they are at different scales without a declared interface. A is atoms, B is mountains. You cannot just put them together. Gate 2 catches this. Gauge artifacts. You think A and B are interacting, but actually you just rename things. The change disappears when you do phi goes to phi plus C. Gate 4 catches this. Boundary mistyping. You drew subsystem boundaries incorrectly. The split does not match the actual domain structure. Gate 2 catches this. Uncertainty cheating. The change looks like interaction, but when you account for uncertainty honestly, it vanishes. Gate 6 catches this. These are false interactions. They look like coupling, but are really measurement problems. The gates catch them. The shadow trick example. Imagine two people walking near a wall. Their shadows overlap. It looks like they're touching, but they're not. It is just the lighting. That is like a gauge artifact. We must not certify interaction just because something looks connected. We test factorization. The two thermometers example. Imagine two thermometers in the same room. Thermometer A reads 20 degrees. Thermometer B reads 20 degrees. You heat the room. Now both read 25 degrees. Interaction? Maybe, but check carefully. Are they really interacting? Or are they both responding to the same thing, the room temperature? If you can factor the change, one receipt for A responding to heat, one receipt for B responding to heat. Both happen at the same time. They are independent responses to a common cause. That is not interaction. That is parallel independence. True interaction would be if A's heating changed B directly, beyond just the room. Like if A gave off heat that warmed B more than the room did. The factorization test catches this. If you can factor, no interaction. If you cannot, interaction is certified. The factorization test. Let us say it clearly. Given a candidate update certificate that takes folder S to folder S prime, 1. Declare a partition of S into subsystems A and B. This partition must be typed and recorded. 2. Attempt to find legal update certificates for A alone and B alone, such that their transformers commute under composition rules. Their combined output is equivalent to S prime within uncertainty U. No shared God violations occur. 3. If you find such certificates, the update factorizes. No interaction. 4. If every attempt fails and the failures are diagnosed by the gates, then interaction is certified. We write an interaction certificate that records the partition attempted, all factorization attempts and why they failed, which gates caught each attempt, the minimal evidence set showing the coupling, the transformer families involved, the uncertainty bounds. This certificate goes into the registry. Now interaction is a public fact, not a guess. The factorization attempt ledger. We also keep a factorization attempt ledger. This is part of the negative archive. For every interaction claim, we record every attempt to factor the change and why it failed. This ledger is public. Anyone can check. Anyone can try a new factorization. If someone finds a factorization that works, the interaction claim is false. We update the registry. This keeps interaction honest. The tug-of-war example. Two children hold opposite ends of a rope. When one pulls, both move. You cannot describe the movement of one without including the rope tension affecting the other. Subsystem A, child 1. Subsystem B, child 2. Shared object, the rope. Because the rope connects them, updates do not factorize. Interaction certified. The seesaw example. Two children on a seesaw. One goes up, the other goes down. Can you update one without affecting the other? No. The seesaw ties them. Factorization fails. Interaction certified. The stress test. Renaming again. Now we do our stress test again, because it protects against cheating. Suppose we rename everything. Phi goes to phi plus C. Do interaction certificates survive? They must. If A and B interact, renaming everything should not change that. The factorization attempt should still fail in the same way. If renaming makes factorization possible, then the interaction was depending on labels, not on real structure. That is not allowed. The predictions. Now we make predictions, not prophecies. Predictions like receipts, things we can check. Prediction 1. If two systems are not interacting, there exists a factorization of any valid update into separate certificates for each system, within uncertainty. Prediction 2. If two systems are interacting, every attempt to factorize will fail with a gate diagnosable reason. Prediction 3. Interaction is relative to the declared split. The same change might show interaction for one split and not for another. Prediction 4. False interactions caused by aliasing, scale mixing, gauge artifacts, boundary mistyping, or uncertainty cheating will be caught by the gates and produce refusal certificates, not interaction certificates. Prediction 5. Interaction certificates survive the rename everything test. If they do not, they are invalid. These are simple. They can be tested, they can be audited. The failure signatures. Now we list the ways interaction claims can fail. Each failure produces a refusal certificate that goes into the negative archive. Failure 1. Factorization found. Someone claims interaction, but another team finds a valid factorization. The claim is false. Failure 2. Aliasing failure. The subsystems cannot be cleanly identified. Gate 5 catches this. Failure 3. Scale mixing without interface. The subsystems are different scales with no declared interface. Gate 2 catches this. Failure 4. Gauge artifact. The interaction disappears when you rename everything. Gate 4 catches this. Failure 5. Boundary mistyping. The subsystem split does not match the actual domain boundaries. Gate 2 catches this. Failure 6. Uncertainty cheating. The interaction vanishes when uncertainty is accounted for honestly. Gate 6 catches this. Failure 7. Missing split declaration. Someone claims interaction but never declares how they split the system. Too vague. Refused. Failure 8. Transformer mismatch. The attempted factorization uses transformers that do not commute or do not compose legally. Failure 9. Insufficient attempts. Someone claims interaction but only tried one factorization. They must try all reasonable splits. Refused until more attempts are made. Failure 10. Rename failure. The interaction claim fails the rename everything test. It depends on labels, not structure. The child who understands. Imagine a child listening to this story. The child says, "So interaction means two things change together in a way you cannot split apart?" And we say, yes. If you can split the change into separate receipts for each thing, they are not interacting. If you cannot split it, they are. The child says, like when two marbles bounce, you cannot split that into one marble moving and the other moving separately because they changed each other. And we say, exactly, that is interaction. The child says, what about two thermometers in the same room? They both go up. Can you split that? And we say, yes. One receipt for thermometer A responding to heat, one receipt for thermometer B responding to heat. They are independent, no interaction. The child says, so interaction is not just changing at the same time, it's changing because of each other. And we say, yes, that is the key. If the change in A depends on B being there, and the change in B depends on A being there, that is interaction. The child says, and we check by trying to split the receipt? And we say, yes, we try every way we can think of. If all fail, we write an interaction certificate. If one succeeds, we write a refusal. The child says, and the gates catch fake interactions, like when we can't tell things apart? And we say, yes, gate 5 catches that. If you cannot identify the subsystems cleanly, you cannot claim interaction. The child says, or when shadows look like touching but aren't? And we say, yes, that's a gauge artifact. Gate 4 catches it. The child thinks, so interaction is not magic. It's just when the paperwork won't split. And we say, yes, that is the best way to say it. The coupling map. Now we can build something beautiful, a coupling map. This is a view of graph G sub U that shows where the universe refuses to separate. In some places, the graph can be split into independent pieces. Those are separate stories. In other places, the graph cannot be split. The nodes are tied together by receipts that resist factorization. Those are interacting systems. The coupling map shows the bones of interaction, where things are coupled, where they are separate. This is not a map of forces. It is a map of inseparable paperwork. The main lesson. Let us say it one more time, in the simplest words we can find. Two things interact when you cannot split the change into separate receipts for each thing. That is it. No forces, no pushes, no magic. Just paperwork that refuses to separate. If you can split it, no interaction. If you cannot split it, and the reason is clean and checked, interaction is certified. Simple, honest, checkable. The registry of interactions. Now we have another section in our public registry, certified interactions. It lists the systems involved, declared split, the before and after folders, the interaction certificate hash, the failed factorization attempts, the gate reports for each attempt, the transformer families involved, the uncertainty bounds. Anyone can look up an interaction. Anyone can test it. Anyone can try a new factorization. If someone finds one, the interaction is delisted. This keeps interaction honest. It is not permanent. It is the best we know so far. The toy cars at the end. Imagine again the two toy cars. At first, they roll independently. Their changes factorize. No interaction. Then they bump. Their motion ties together. Not because of magic. not because of invisible force, because the update cannot be written as two independent certificates. That is interaction. Simple enough for a child, deep enough for a scientist. Certified, earned, and recorded. What comes next? Now we have interaction. We have a way to talk about when things are coupled and when they are separate. We have a registry and a ledger. We have a coupling map. We have predictions that can be tested. We have failure signatures that tell us why a claim might be refused. Next, we will ask, how do we know what the right split is? How do we decide what counts as a subsystem? How do we handle things that are nested inside each other? Those are for later parts. For now, we rest here. We have interaction as certified non-factorization. Not forces, not pushes. Just paperwork that refuses to separate. And we built it all from one simple idea. Two systems interact when no legal update certificate can be written as two independent certificates in parallel. That is part 15. That is what interaction is. That is our story so far. Always, peace be upon you.